Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? Today we're tackling cultural facilities management. You seem pretty interested in this one, so we're going to go deep and, really get into the nitty-gritty of what this career is all about.
Glad to be here. I've spent quite a bit of time in this world myself, and I'm happy to share some insights.
When I picture a cultural facilities manager, I'll be honest, my first thought isn't exactly spreadsheets and board meetings.
Right.
It's easy to romanticize, right? Like picturing someone surrounded by art or historical artifacts. But when you dig into the source material, it's a different story. It talks about directing operations and managing resources. So let's unpack that a bit. What does directing operations really mean for a cultural facilities manager?
It's a lot more than just appreciating the arts. Let me tell you, you're really responsible for the whole shebang, the entire ecosystem of the facility.
Hmm.
Let's take a museum, for example. You've got the artwork, sure, but you're also the one handling building upkeep, planning exhibitions, making sure security is tight, hiring and managing staff, and maybe the most surprising part to some hand, you're overseeing the entire budget.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Budgeting? Now that's a twist. So it's not enough to know your Picassos from your Michelangelos. You need to be a financial guru too.
100%. And actually, your RoleCatcher career guide, it talks about this directly. It really stresses that budget management is a core part of these roles, making sure resources are used well and the facility can actually, keep its doors open so people can enjoy those Picassos and Michelangelos.
Okay, you've definitely burst my bubble. It's not all art galleries and glamorous openings, more like leadership management, financial wizardry.
Yeah.
It's starting to sound like a CEO position, just in a much cooler setting.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let's shift gears to career progression, because you don't just graduate and become the top dog overnight, right? What's the typical path look like in cultural facilities management?
You're right, no overnight successes here. There's a real ladder you climb. You might start as a cultural facilities assistant, then move up to coordinator, then manager, and eventually maybe even senior cultural facilities manager overseeing multiple venues. Having a roadmap like that is super helpful when you're just starting out. Helps you set realistic goals.
Okay, so let's break down this cultural ladder. What does each step actually entail? What are you doing day to day?
So at the very beginning, as a cultural facilities assistant, you're really in the trenches. There's a lot of hands-on work. Assisting with event setup, making sure the space is in tip-top shape for visitors, and really focusing on top-notch customer service. Think of it as boot camp for the cultural world.
Gotcha. So really frontline experience.
Right.
Then what? What comes next?
As you move up to cultural facilities coordinator, you start to see a shift from doing to directing. Now you're supervising staff, working with other departments like marketing and programming and, yep, you guessed it, managing some budgets. Your career stage is sourced from RoleCatcher. It actually points out that a master's degree is often needed at this level, which makes sense when you think about the added responsibility and the strategic thinking involved.
Master's degree, huh? So it's not just about practical experience. You need the theoretical background to back it up. What about a full-fledged cultural facilities manager? What's on their plate? So we're talking big picture stuff at the manager level.
Exactly. You're basically the captain of the ship now, overseeing every aspect of how the facility runs, from setting policies to managing those all-important budgets and always thinking about ways to improve. You're building relationships with stakeholders, securing funding, and making sure the facility stays relevant and interesting for visitors. It's a real balancing act.
Between art and administration, it sounds like. So what happens at the peak when you reach senior cultural facilities manager?
Well, at that point, you're not usually just managing one facility anymore. You might be overseeing multiple venues, leading a whole team of managers, developing those long-term strategies, and really driving revenue through creative marketing and partnerships. You've become a leader in the cultural world.
Wow, from setting up chairs to leading a multi-venue empire, that's quite a journey. It really shows the growth potential in this field. And speaking of growth, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Technology. How does this digital age we're living in affect a field that seems so rooted in the past?
Fascinating question. And you're right, it's not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of museums or concert halls, but honestly, technology is becoming indispensable in cultural facilities. Even your research mentioned an increasing focus on digital and virtual experiences in the sector.
Yeah, even something like ticketing has gone high-tech these days.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, what are some of the less obvious ways technology is being used in these spaces?
One of the coolest developments is definitely the rise of interactive exhibits. Imagine using augmented reality to bring historical objects to life, or having a virtual tour guide that tailors the information to your interests. Technology is also making cultural experiences more accessible to people who might not be able to physically visit a museum, for example, through virtual tours.
Oh, that's a great point. The accessibility factor is huge. It really shows how technology can make culture and learning more inclusive. And speaking of technology and accessibility, it reminds me of something we talked about earlier. RoleCatcher. It's a perfect example of how technology is leveling the playing field for job seekers, don't you think?
Absolutely. Having a resource like RoleCatcher is a game changer, especially in a competitive field like cultural facilities management. Just think about it. You get access to tons of potential interview questions. You can practice your answers by recording yourself, and with their Copilot AI feature, you even get AI-powered feedback. That's invaluable for anyone starting their career.
It's like having a personal career coach right in your pocket. So, for our listener out there who's seriously considering this path of becoming a cultural facilities manager, what are the big takeaways from everything we've talked about?
I think the biggest one is that this role is so much more than meets the eye. It's not just about loving the arts, although that definitely helps. It's this unique blend of creativity and business savvy, a deep understanding of the cultural landscape, and a willingness to embrace innovation and technology.
So, it's not just about knowing your art history. It's about managing budgets, leading teams, keeping up with the latest tech trends, and making sure the organization is financially stable. You need both sides of your brain firing on all cylinders.
Exactly. You need those sharp organizational skills, financial management experience, and the ability to adapt to new technologies. But just as important is a genuine passion for creating those amazing visitor experiences and a deep appreciation for the cultural heritage you're helping to preserve.
It's about connecting the past with the present, making those historical treasures relevant to today's audiences.
And that's where the real magic happens. This career path gives you the opportunity to really shape how people experience art history and performance for years to come.
Just thinking about the possibilities is inspiring. Now, I'd love to tap into your personal experience a little. You've clearly had a successful run in cultural facilities management. What advice would you give your younger self just starting out? What's the secret sauce?
Ooh, that's a good one. If I could go back in time, I'd tell my younger self to never stop learning. The cultural sector is always changing, so you have to be ready to adapt and be open to new ideas. Embrace those challenges. Step outside your comfort zone, and don't be afraid to take risks.
That's solid advice for any career path, but especially in such a dynamic field. It seems like continuous learning is a common thread in a lot of the deep dives we do.
It really is. And I'd also emphasize the importance of networking. Go to conferences, join professional organizations, connect with people who inspire you. Those relationships can be incredibly valuable throughout your career. And don't underestimate the power of a good mentor. Find someone who can guide and support you as you navigate the ups and downs of this career path.
Yeah, like having a seasoned explorer to help you navigate the jungle. Speaking of uncharted territory, what about emerging trends in cultural facilities management? What should aspiring professionals be keeping an eye on as they embark on this journey?
One word: sustainability.
Hmm.
As climate change and environmental concerns become more prominent, cultural institutions are really starting to prioritize sustainable practices.
That makes a lot of sense. From the materials used to build and maintain these facilities to the energy consumption of exhibits and performances, there's a lot to consider.
It's absolutely. Aspiring cultural facilities, managers who understand sustainable practices and can implement eco-friendly solutions are going to be in high demand. Imagine retrofitting old buildings to be more energy efficient or designing new museums with sustainability in mind from the ground up.
Right. It's not just about preserving our cultural legacy. It's about doing it in a way that respects and protects the planet for future generations. It adds a whole new layer of responsibility and significance to the field.
And it's not just about environmental sustainability either. It's about financial sustainability as well. Cultural institutions are under more pressure than ever to find diverse revenue streams and become more resilient in the face of economic uncertainty.
So finding creative ways to secure funding and manage those resources is more crucial now than ever. Are there any innovative fundraising approaches you've seen that have been particularly effective?
Crowdfunding is becoming a popular option for specific projects or exhibitions. It's a great way for institutions to directly involve the public and generate excitement. Another approach is developing unique event programming that appeals to a wider audience. For example, some museums are hosting after-hours events with live music, food, and drinks to create a more social and interactive experience.
That's a fantastic way to attract a younger demographic and generate some buzz. I love it. We've talked a lot about how technology enhances the visitor experience, but what about its potential to improve operational efficiency behind the scenes?
There's huge potential there. A lot of cultural institutions are already using data analytics to track visitor behavior, optimize exhibit design, and improve their marketing strategies.
So it's all about using data to make smarter, more strategic decisions that benefit everyone, both the visitors and the organization. Are there any other technological advancements on the horizon that have you particularly excited for the future of cultural facilities management?
Definitely. As artificial intelligence and machine learning keep evolving, I think we'll see even more sophisticated uses for them in managing cultural facilities.
AI running the museum. That's straight out of a sci-fi movie.
But it could be a reality sooner than we think. And that's what makes this field so exciting. It's this blend of honoring the past and shaping the future. There's a real sense of purpose in preserving our cultural heritage and finding new and innovative ways to share it with the world.
Absolutely. Well, you've given us a lot to digest today. From the many hats a cultural facilities manager wears to the constantly evolving role of technology and the increasing importance of sustainability. I have a feeling our listeners are already drawing up blueprints for solar-powered art galleries as we speak.
I hope so. It's a field full of possibilities for anyone with a passion for the arts, a strategic mind, and that willingness to embrace the future.
Well said. It's been an absolute pleasure picking your brain today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cultural facilities management.
My pleasure entirely. Thanks for having me.
And for our listeners out there, if you're feeling inspired and ready to take the next step on your own cultural journey, don't forget to check out the show notes for links to all the resources we talked about. And remember, learning is a lifelong journey, so keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.